And now we present to you America's quintessential iconoclastic anomaly. Wow. In talk radio, your host, Joe Cristiano.
You know, it doesn't take much these days to get me upset when you talk about domestic and world affairs. It's easy. In fact, I'm wondering about myself that I'm typically walking around in some state of upsettedness. That's a new word, folks. I just discovered it. I invented it. You can use it. There's no copyright on it. This week in particular, I think I am particularly angry. I'm angry because we are the most confused group of people making up a nation on the face of this earth. There are people who live in abject poverty, dictated by people who are probably the worst people in the world, dictators. They know where they stand. They're not confused. Their life is horrible, always, and they'll die. They'll die being horrible. They're not confused. We purportedly, according to our president, live in the best country in the world. But yet he is out to fundamentally transform this nation. Now, here is a man who has never held a job, hasn't been through 1,000th of what I've been through in business, yet and claims that this is the best nation, this is the best country in the world to live in. But he wants to fundamentally transform it. Now, if that doesn't confuse you, nothing should. In fact, if you're not confused yet, let's go to part 2 of this. Mayor Bloomberg in New York City says that now we have to think about reinterpreting the Constitution. Well, who the heck is he? He's a socialist mayor in New York, and he wants to fundamentally now change the Constitution. Now here's the problem. We listen to that, and we don't get angry. I get angry. I wish people would call me. I'm angry. Just want to let you know. I will not feel alone. We should all be angry. If anything, we should be angry even if we do not understand what is going on. But when we get confused as Americans, what we do is that we default to the state to solve the problem, and then we back off. We're no longer angry because the state will take care of it for us, take care of everything for us. You see, that is a good definition of total insanity. Now, when people say, well, Joe, who do you blame? We want to know who to blame. We really want to know, who do we blame for this cacophony of ideas, none of which makes any sense? Are we a democracy, or are we a corporate, governmental, fascist type state? Are we a peace-loving nation? Or are we a military-industrial complex without tentacles in every country around the world? We are bipolar, folks. You know it and I know it. We are a bipolar nation. We're okay here, but we're not okay. Well, we say we're good, but we do that.
We're also codependent.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We believe in the sanctity of life. We spend thousands of hours every month talking about abortion. Now, I'm not going to get into that discussion. But yet we will drop a cluster bomb in an area where we suspect that there may be an Al-Qaeda operative, whatever that means, and we don't even know what that means. So we get this kid who learns to operate a console. He gets instructions, press the B button for bomb. A bomb goes off. Of course, you can't kill one person with a bomb. You take out an entire neighborhood. 12 children are killed. Never makes the news. But we are a peace-loving nation, and we must fundamentally transform this nation. Now, you have got to get, if you're not angry, I suggest either you do or you wake up. Now, people want to know, well, who's to blame? It's the government to blame. It is not the government to blame. Remember I said months ago, we know who the enemy is. It's us. Because we have the government, the exact government that we select, that we elect. It is us that is at fault. But today, I would like to key in on specifically who I would blame, other than just saying people are to blame. Because, that's the way the government talks. We must fundamentally transform all this thing. We need to reinterpret all this. We have no idea. No idea what we're talking about. It just sounds good. I don't want anything to sound good. I want this station to address the faceless, the helplessness, the helpless, and the defenseless of this country. Let me go further. The faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless, not only of this nation, but as our Constitution is written, of all people. Just because a person is of different color skin or was born on a different piece of this planet, it's okay if we cluster bomb them. We don't have to give it any thought. We don't even feel badly about it. Well, that's because they're over there 7,000 miles away. The poor kids they were playing, they just happened to be in the way. We'll just categorize those children as collateral damage and then close the book on that. We hear that. And we want to know why we're confused. Who do we blame? I'm going to tell you my top pick, and this is going to be very controversial. You want to hang up? Hang up. I don't give a damn. I blame our religious organizations. Every one of them. Ooh. Every one of them. And let me tell you why. Don't go. Before you hang up, I want you to listen to my logic. We go to services on Sunday. Now, it makes no difference what sect you are, what part of the Christian faith you are, immaterial. Don't care. And what do you hear the preacher talk about, or the priest, or whatever? He talks about, we're proud today to know that Mrs. Jones's son is now serving in Afghanistan. Let's have a moment of prayer, to ask God to guide him so he can come home safe. Now you think, well, what's wrong with that, Joe? Have you lost your mind? Yes, I've lost my mind. But I'll tell you what's wrong with that. He should be saying, how did he wind up in Afghanistan? Where is our parental guidance telling our children, why are you going overseas to kill someone that has absolutely nothing to do with us? Where is the guidance of the parents? And I blame the preacher because the preacher never told the parents that was wrong. But we pray for him to come back safely. Translated, kill as many people as you want. We don't give a damn as long as Johnny comes back safe. And then if Johnny gets his head blown off, his arms blown off, we'll keep Johnny in our prayers. Of what value are our religious leaders when they allow us to think that it is honorable to go someplace else and kill somebody else, not knowing why? Are they attacking us? No. Oh, but they're an Al-Qaeda operative. And then you say, what the heck is that? Well, I don't know. Well, gee, before you give me an answer such as that, you justify killing someone, shouldn't you find out? Well, I watched it on the news, and they're the bad people, and we got to kill them because, if we don't, they're going to terrorize the United States. They're going to kill us, so we better kill them before they. We got to kill. We got to go over there to prevent. And they hate our freedom. That is how stupid we are. And don't kid yourself. You've heard this before, and not from me. Now, this preacher, or all the preachers, are telling us, if you're Christian, what would Jesus do? I ask you that question because I'll bet a majority of the people listening are Christians. But this applies to any religion. I'm not picking on one religion. I say for all of them. What would Jesus do? What would Muhammad do? What would Buddha do? I don't care who you pick. But let's pick out the one that we hear all the time. What would Jesus do? Well, let's say Jesus would cluster bomb the area, kill the kids, and say, whoopee, come back and have a Coke.
I don't think
No, Jesus says, we have pictures of Jesus with the little children. Children. And the children have little wings on them because they're innocent. They're innocent to the wraths of the world. But we can kill them. You know why? Because they are people of different color. You see, it depends on your color, you know? And if you are this color, well, you get a little bit more consideration. That's what Jesus would do. That's why Jesus made us all different colors, so we'll know who to kill first. That is out thinking. Don't kid yourself. You know we think that way. Collateral damage. What would Jesus do? I thought Jesus talked about peace. Peace on earth, not peace in the United States. When these preachers preach, how could they preach and not discuss that very subject? Instead of saying, let's pray for our men and women in Afghanistan, in Iraq. Now, I want them to come back safely. I want them to come back now, all safe, and stay home and be with their families. You see, I support my troops. I support our troops. I do not support what our government is forcing them to do, and that's why we have to start thinking. We have a break now. Let's go to break. I need a cup of coffee. You know, we all have heroes, you know. Spider-Man is one of my heroes, okay? I'll be honest with you.
I like Iron Man.
Iron Man, yeah, another one, yeah.
Yeah.
Who's that other guy that, that goofy big guy that,
The Incredible Hulk?
No, not the Hulk. He's got the horn in his head or something.
Thor?
No, the rocky guy.
Yeah,
Made
yeah.
out of a rock.
Yeah, he looks like a rock. I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, but you know.
Oh, The Thing.
No, it's not him either.
He's like a rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's-
Okay.
Anyway, but I'm
well.
sorry that's off the subject. But you know, I want to tell you, I have come full circle, and I have a few heroes. But I want you to think about a few things. In the ghettos, in the inner cities, the graduation rate is 51%. Only 51% actually graduate high school. Now, understand in these schools, they put them through whether they pass the test or not. Most of these kids are dropping out. Half the kids are dropping out. The unemployment rate in the inner cities of children of color, by the way, I am of color too. I'm Italian. I consider myself of color. Right?
Yeah.
Right? I do. I mean,
Yeah.
it just
Well,
drives
you
me
are.
nuts, you know?
Yeah, that olive skin
and
going
I
on.
stay in the sun.
Yeah.
Forget about it. Yeah. But the unemployment rate is 25 to 50% depending on the city. Now, is that not a problem? In fact, that is so bad, that doesn't even qualify for depressionary status. It's beyond depression. It rivals the unemployment in any city in the world. And it's here in your USA, in this country. And who is to blame? The parents, obviously. And where do the parents go for guidance? To their churches. And we do know for a fact, statistically, that people of color are more likely to frequent their houses of worship than others, statistically. What are they being told? What are they doing? We have kids not graduating, and so when they come out and they're on the streets, they have a choice. No job, or they have a street job. Now, I'm from the streets of Harlem. Let me tell you something. I know the streets. When I moved to the Bronx, anybody who knows the Bronx, I'm going to give you a few places. Simpson Street, Prospect Avenue, anybody who came from, you know what I'm talking about. I hung around under the L late at night. They're horrible places when you think back. These kids, that's all they have. And what do you think they are gravitated to do? Their friend said, hey, you want to take this? And all you got to do is deliver it. Don't worry, man. Just keep it in your pocket. Don't say anything. And they become runners. Then they get caught. They wind up in jail. Those that don't, and they say they got to get out of it, they have no talent. What do? They join the armed forces for America to make us safe again. So they get a job. They get basically enlisted, or they enlist. And whatever they are told to do, what are they apt to do? Remember, these kids have no guidance whatsoever. No education. They have no one to look up to, except for, the guy on the street, maybe. Right? And then they tell them, well, what you're going to do, we're going to teach you how to do what? They go into the Army, which means the infantry, and then they teach them a skill. Oh, yeah, they teach them some electronics and all this, and they may give them some education, right? But the number one thing they do is they teach them how to kill. Because the Army is meant to kill. You have an army to kill. They don't give you a rifle to play with. They give you a rifle to shoot. And you're not shooting at targets, you're shooting at other human beings. They don't know any better. They have no moral grounds because there is no moral ground to our religions today at all. None. Could you imagine if you are a minister of any faith? I don't care what it is. I say minister is a generic term. And then you wind up in front of for judgment. And this is the way you've educated your flock is to appreciate the fact that we're sending our boys overseas to kill others. What do you think God is going to say to you? Hey, nice job there. I hear these kids, they killed a lot of kids. You did a good job. No. That preacher, the holy man, would most likely, in my opinion, the way I look at it, God would say, hey, you didn't get these people to think peace and love and understanding. You didn't fight for the faceless, the helpless, the defensive, as Jesus Christ did. What you did is you supported the military-industrial complex. Preacher so-and-so, guess where you're going?
Oh, boy.
No, I mean, you think of it logically. See, I'm not confused. And I may be wrong, but I'm not confused. You're confused. My listeners are confused. America is confused, and that's the problem. We can't solve our problems when we go to places that we admire, people that we go to that we respect, and they give us answers that are wacko. That'll say, well, I'll pray for your son. That doesn't solve the problem. I'll tell you a few people who personally are some of my heroes. Not all of them, some of them. Here they go. And you're going to get angry at this. I can tell you're going to get damn angry, and I don't blame you. If I was in your shoes, I would be damn angry. I would be reaching for that knob. But don't touch it yet. Louis Farrakhan. What? Malcolm X. And guess who else? Guess who the third person is? Martin Luther King. You say, well, Joe, why you picked that before? Before I decide never to listen to your program again, I want to know why you're picking on those three people. Because what they did is they took the injustice to the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless, and they said, we will do it ourselves. We will march the streets. We will develop our own community. We will learn. We will train our people. We will work out of the system for our good because no one else is doing it. You have to give them credit. I don't agree with a lot with what they did. I don't agree with a lot what their philosophy was. But you have to give them credit. Would I give credit to a run-of-the-mill preacher who's telling everybody, pray for our troops? But by the way, don't pray for the people that they're killing. Please don't do that. Don't waste your prayers. We have no time. And you want to know why the people in the pews are confused? We are damned people. We are. How do I know that? Because I see it around us. I see how our society is immoral. The morals of our society are gone. We have none. And then we want to know where we're going. Well, I can tell you where we're going. We're disintegrating in front of our very eyes, and you know it. You feel it, but you're afraid to admit it. I'm telling you that. We're waging wars. You know, we say, God bless it. When I hear God bless America, I get sick. Because God did bless America. God took this continent wherever it is. It's in between. It's not involved in the Asian conflicts of Japan and Korea, Indonesia, Thailand, all that place, the Burma, or used to be Burma, and China, and all the conflicts of those nations. It removed us from that. It removed us from the conflicts between the British Empire, the French Empire, the German Empire, et al., all of them. They said, here you are. We're going to give you this land. You are going to be divorced from all of this. You can build a society based on fairness and love and understanding. And we will give you the natural resources with which to help the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless. But you know what we did? We said, screw the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless. Oh, we'll put them on welfare because we'll get votes, but screw them. And what we'll do is we'll take whatever God-given material was given to us. And you know what we do? We make tanks. We make airplanes, jets. Our newest one is an F-35. $200 million a plane. That's just to build. To maintain, it's millions of dollars a year. Each one. That's where our natural resources are going. Because screw the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless. And you want to know why I think Farrakhan and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King were heroes? They were heroes to their people. Because they helped the faceless and the helpless and the defenseless. And this station is doing the same thing. Now, if you don't like it and you want to leave forever, do me a favor and leave. I don't want anybody who will not think. I am so damn mad you have no idea. I see this every day. I see us justifying. I hear crap such as, well, we have to have our troops there. We have to protect our supply of natural resources, mostly oil. So that's why we have a troop there. Well, you're an idiot. Don't say that. If you want to use that logic, how about fairness? The Middle East relies on our cornfields, our crops. How come they don't have troops here and their ships in our harbor protecting their supply lines? Well, if they did, man, we'd knock them out, man. We'd nuke the son of a gun. Yeah, exactly. That's how stupid we are. United Stupid America. And when are we going to wake up? I don't know why. I have absolutely... The ministers of our country are all going to a certain place. There's going to be a certain place when you die, a special place. I'm not going to call it what it is, but all the ministers are going to a special place. They're not going to hell, because hell's going to be for the regular people like me. The ministers are going to a real special place. I think they're going to call it Bunsen Burner Heaven or something like that. I want to hear them get angry. Why don't I see people marching in the streets? Protesting, not because government is cut back on their welfare, but protesting that the government is killing the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless. Why don't we see that? Why don't we see that anger? No, we accept it because, you see, they are people of color, and they don't count. And that's what Jesus would do. You know, I tell you one thing. Listen, I was raised as a Christian, and I've been screwed by more Christians. You have no idea. I mean, really done bad by. And I tell you, I really question. You know, the Christian faith is founded on beautiful principles, absolutely beautiful principles. The execution, forget about it. Yeah. We will justify anything. What would Jesus do? Just remember the faceless, the helpless, and defenseless, and that's what this program's about. Let's take a break. Welcome back to our program. We have a caller on the air. He's been holding for some time. Let's get him on the air now. Bill from Tulsa, you're on the air. Thank you for calling 1170 KFAQ.
Hey, Joe. Hey, listen, I got a couple of issues with what you're talking about.
Surely, please go.
Okay, number one, I think you're kind of lost in a time warp here because the services don't accept people who don't have a high school education, okay? Back in the 60s, maybe they did, but not now. You got to have at least a high school education, okay? If you want to talk about taking care of the poor, why don't you guys get out of the way and let us build these pipelines that will create hundreds of jobs, good-paying jobs, and get out of the way instead of worrying about some stupid toad or some snake.
No, I listen, Bill, I agree with you. I stand corrected. If they don't take students without a high school education, I stand corrected, and I thank you for correcting me. The pipeline is a different issue, and we just went off the tracks. The trolley just went off the tracks. I'm talking about
you're talking about hurting people in the inner city, or giving people of color jobs. We're starving for jobs. I'm in the business of finding people work, and I'm telling you, there's more jobs out there than I can find people.
No, Bill, I'm saying I agree with you. It doesn't solve our moral dilemma. We can create jobs. It's easy to create jobs. Let me give you an example. Milton Friedman, when he was alive, in China back in the early 1990s, and of course he had a Chinese guide with him, and they, of course, Milton Friedman was one of the fathers of free-thinking Austrian economics and whatever, and he's world-renowned and he's undisputed. Anyway, he was at a job site. And he was at this job site, and he noticed that there were hundreds of people digging with these shovels. And he knew that the Chinese had this earth-moving equipment, gigantic, one piece of equipment would replace all the people in the field. And he turned to his Chinese guide, and he said, well, with all the technology that you have, with all the equipment that you have, why are you allowing all of these people to be digging holes, actually constructing and digging holes by hand? And his guide said, simple. It's all about jobs. He says, well then, if it's about jobs, why not give them all spoons? My point being, it's jobs is not the question. I'm not questioning the jobs. I'm not questioning the Keystone Pipeline. If they built it and it created jobs, all the better. I'm not, we're talking about, all I'm saying, Bill, is we're talking about two different subjects. I'm talking about the mentality that we have about how we live as Americans. And let me say this about high school graduates. Many of the high school graduates that graduate high school really don't graduate. They're pushed through because they have quotas. So those that didn't graduate are about as astute and educated as those that are educated or have a diploma. I mean, let's be honest with it, because our high school system, especially in the cities, to say it stinks is giving it honor. But I understand your point, and I appreciate your calling.
Okay, brother.
Right. Thank you, Bill.
You're off base.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, he brings up a good point. I'm not disagreeing with him. I'm saying, but you see how we go right, the trolley goes right off the tracks. Well, what about the Keystone Pipeline? Well, what if we created jobs? We have a Keystone Pipeline, and we've created X thousands of jobs. Would that change anything? Would that change the hypocrisy? That would change the hypocrisy of that's being perpetrated on people? Would that change the way people would raise their children? Would that change our mentality? Would that change the way we think about government? No. What that would do is say, oh, government approved that. Government's good. That would make things worse from a mentality point of view, not a jobs point of view. I want you to understand that, folks. This is not about jobs. Jobs would be there if people were given the incentive to do for themselves. If people felt that they had a support system of a family, of a neighborhood, of a church, they felt that support. And not that, well, Johnny, I guess since you can't find, why, you ever consider going in the Marines? They can sure teach you how to kill. And when you come back maybe with one arm or two. We're not sure, maybe no legs, but then you can go on government assistance. Is that the way we want to live? we want to encourage our kids to go kill others? And then when they come back, they're so fouled up in the head they can't get a job. I wouldn't hire them. I'd be afraid of them. And it's not their fault. Let's not talk about jobs in the Keystone Expressway, a pipeline. That's immaterial. Although I understand, and I appreciate, Bill, you're calling on that one. And thank you for correcting me, by the way. And what do we do with all these wars? We go into debt. We go into debt. We indebt our children. So those children who are collecting something from the state may not have it in the future. What happens when these dependent people all of a sudden have no more Big Daddy? The money stops. You see, they are dependent. They're not independent. They have not become independent. Now, if the parents don't know what to do and they go to their churches and places of worship and they're being told everything that the government is doing is right and correct, just have faith and praise the Lord, they're not doing their job. I blame our places of worship, number one. I want to see that instead of the minister says, we're not going to sit here in the pews. We're going to hit the streets because we're angry. We are doing everything contrary to our scriptures. Everything. Why don't we hear it on television when you hear the preachers? And I will listen to them once in a while. Why don't I hear them say, instead of send me money, why don't I hear them say, why do we think people of color who have been born someplace else are more eligible to die than our men and women? How do we justify going to a country who does not even know we exist with no army and kill people? We are going to take to the streets. And we won't get off the streets until the government brings all the men and women home. And we become a country of peace. Then I have respect. I may even start my own church.
Oh, boy.
It's be expensive, I'll tell you that.
I bet so.
Yeah, I want to start a church for wayward supermodels, you know? That's the one I want.
Supermodels?
You know, I don't think my wife would approve, and she's sitting right here. I don't want to be in trouble with that one. But you see my point, folks. Now, who else do I blame? Well, the school system. When kids don't know what they're going to do for a living, when they haven't given any thought, and let me tell you something, the worst person to go to find out what you want to do for a living is the school counselor.
That's right.
I have never, every story that I have heard, and my wife can do a 2-hour program on all the counseling she received and wasted like 15 years of her life because of bad advice. I mean, really bad advice. She was actually told she could not be an audiologist. She's an audiologist today, a very good one. They couldn't be an audiologist. They gave her some cockamamie. And you know what she did? She was so obedient. She said, okay. And then she became a personnel manager, hated her job. Until one day she was speaking to a highfalutin audiologist, and she says, you know, I was wanting to, but I can't. He said, why? And she explained what the guy told. He goes, guy's out of his mind. You can be an audiologist. She immediately quit her job, went back to school. Been an audiologist now for 25 years, 30 years, right? About 30 years? 38 years. And she's a fabulous audiologist. 28.
Maybe she,
You're the doghouse.
What did I say? What did I say? 38 years. No, she's only 38 years old. How could that be? You know, jeez. You know, but so we have a school system that sucks, and I'm giving it credit. You ever speak to teachers? They are numb to what's going on in the world. If they're given a history book, they'll teach the kids that history, they don't know if it's true or not. And now we have what we call Common Core history.
Oh.
Common Core history.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look at look at it, you know, they have a stair step. They have a picture of a stair step, and it shows that the highest form of society is communism. And you know what our teachers do? Well, I guess it is. It's everyone who cooperates and all this other. And they should be hitting the streets. All of our teachers have, but they don't know any better. So we have preachers preaching whatever they preach. I don't know what the hell they preach, love and understanding. But if you are of a certain color, screw you, drop dead. Your family, and your kids. It's okay because we are considering you people of color collateral damage. And you don't count. Praise the Lord. And then we have school teachers who are teaching this crap that the government gives them. We need to take to the streets. Those that got the lousiest marks in school, those who couldn't pass anything else, teach. I know dozens of teachers. I tell you, I don't think they're the sharpest pencils in the drawer. And when I ask them, I've asked teachers about aspects of history, just to see what their thoughts are. I said, well, what do you think? I know we teach this, but I understand da-da-da-da-da. And I say, you know what really happened? You know what they do? They all get angry. Because they can't think. All they know, they memorize, they pass the test, they want the kids to memorize, pass the test, and everyone's happy.
They get defenseless.
My wife said, you bet. And I got teachers in my family. Maron to me, you can't say anything. Okay, we got to take a break now. Let's take a break, and then I want to get some calls. 855-866-1170. 855-866-1170. Let me hear from you. Now, we don't have much time, but I'll take a couple of more calls, please. 855-866-1170. Now, many of us feel somewhat this way. We're confused. And after listening to this broadcast, you may be even more confused. All I ask you to do is think about it all week. Do nothing but think about this. But come up with a logical answer. Don't come up with, we have to protect our vital interest. Because if you bring that up on the program tonight, I'd say, fine, what does that mean? And I can bet you dollars to donuts you won't know. Because you've heard that. You see, we want to continue to believe. But we're no longer believing in our religious institutions. We are no longer believing in our faith. We are believing in the righteousness of government to kill. Many of whom, people are killed, many of whom are murdered without even any remorse. And we want to know why they hate us. Because they don't like our freedom. Now, doesn't that sound kind of stupid? You know, Yep.
We once had a commitment to free Iran from their domineering dictator. And remember when everyone was excited about the prospect of going in and helping rebuild the infrastructure of the country?
You mean Iran or Iraq?
I'm sorry, Iraq.
Right.
And look at what happened. I mean,
Yeah,
it didn't really go.
Yeah, absolutely. But
Makes a good point, yeah.
But how convoluted we were, because we put this guy in power. There was a duly elected president for that country, right? And we decided he wouldn't play ball with us. He had to go. So we sort of helped Saddam Hussein, who killed everybody who would get in the way. And then there's a war in Iran, and we are what we do. We are pumping money into everything into Iraq. You know, my goodness gracious. I mean, when you think, I'll be honest with you. Listen, my family is a good family. I mean, we had an uncle, Sally. He was a butcher, worked 7 days a week. He was he had a small apartment building over the butcher shop in Harlem, and people were poor. They couldn't pay. He didn't even collect rent from these people. I used to say we were a bunch of good-hearted slobs, working slobs. You know, I'm serious. I mean, they're wonderful people, but I mean, hard-working parents who stayed home, raised their kids, you know, in a tough neighborhood. Harlem was not an easy neighborhood. Never was an easy neighborhood. But I did have an Uncle Louie, and Uncle Louie belonged to that major, big, worldwide organization. I won't mention it, but it started with an M. And I'm not talking about Monsanto. Okay, you got me? Now, this guy was brutal. But you know what he did? He taught me the ins and outs of the organization. And I learned after many, many years. I reflected back to my Uncle Louie. And this is going to sound so strange you will not accept it. They had more scruples. They had more respect for human life than our government. And I won't go into it. And I won't go into why and how and give you examples. But as brutal as they were, they had more respect for the sanctity of life and for those people who were affected by you know what than our government. What's happening to the faceless and the helpless and defenseless? And let me ask you a question. I'm talking about this thing. How many radio stations have you listened to in the past week who are saying exactly what I'm saying? I'll bet you dollars to donuts. The answer is no one, because another group. I have the religious organizations. I have the educational system to blame, and I also have talk radio hosts to blame, because they drive home the fact that what we're doing overseas is the right thing to do. Most of them, very, very few will even question that. People are Republicans. They want to be fiscally conservative. Oh, but when it comes to putting in $500 million extra for military operations, that's perfectly all right. And God forbid we even touch 50 cents of that. Don't you see? You have to be confused if you buy into this. How does a person be a Republican, congressman or senator, and vote to allocate monies for our military and then go to church on Sunday? How could he do that? I voted to allocate $500 billion this year, or $600 billion, whatever it was, to keep our military involved in its operations, killing people. But remember, they're the faceless, the helpless, and defenseless, of different color. It's okay. They're collateral damage. And then they pray. When these bums, they pray in church, what are they praying? Are they praying for forgiveness? Or are they praying that our military operations are successful? Translated, we kill more of them than they kill us. What would Jesus do? My God, this is terrible. You want to know what this country is going downhill? Because instead of using our natural resources from an entrepreneurial point of view to make life better for everyone, and not only in this country, but on this planet, we are sucking the life out of our entire country, all of our natural resources. We're using it to build a military-industrial complex to destroy the other part of the country, this world. And we're depleting not only our natural resources, we're depleting whatever morality we had to start off with. And we should really worry about that. That should get us sick. If it doesn't get you sick, I feel sorry for you. And if you never want to listen to this program again because of this broadcast, goodbye and good riddance. Because someday when you wake up, you'll think back and say, I think now I understand. But it's too late. I don't want it to be too late. It's already too late for the faceless, the helpless, and the defenseless that we don't care about. Because they were not born within the confines of this earth. They were born someplace else. They don't count anymore. Sometimes I think if I didn't have this radio program and my internet program, which I do the same thing, I would explode. And I mean that. I don't say that joking around. I prepare all week for this program. On and off, all week long. That's all I do. Ask anybody around me. I have notes on me all over the place. I don't always talk about what I write down. It's a lot of work, and I'm not complaining. I enjoy it. That's what I do. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm constantly working. But I want us to think. I want us to be morally right, ethically straight. I want us to go and think logically. Like I talk about the planet Zorg. On the planet Zorg, everyone thinks critically and speaks logically. That's what I want us to do here on Earth. We're not doing it. I want us to free our mind of all these belief systems, and when I say belief systems, I don't mean belief in God. Don't go there. But these beliefs like we have to protect our waterways. Oh, all this stuff. Or they flew into 9/11. I heard a talk show host that I had a tremendous amount of respect for. Person called in about 9/11, and he had a question about it. He goes, well, you're a nutcase. You're a conspiracy guy. He said, 9/11 happened, and he went on how, you can't question this stuff. I shut the guy. I said, I'll never listen to him again. He never asked about building number 7 going down and nothing hitting it. We have to be logical about it. We have to be true. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt you because you're going to say, I don't like to be wrong, ever. But I've been wrong now. I've been wrong all my life until now. That's what I had to go through. If I did, so do you. But once you have the guts to transcend that, you can start seeing clearly. You can say, my God, what was I thinking? And then you can help lead others to do the same thing. But we have to have our churches, our schools, and our talk show hosts doing the same thing. Folks, this is Liberty Talk Radio. I appreciate you listening to me rant today, okay? And send me your emails or comments at libertytalkradio.com.
And you know what, Joe? We need to remind people that you're live now every Saturday night. So yeah. So make sure you call in and talk to Joe if you're driving around or whatever it might be. But make sure you tune in because you are live every Saturday night now.
Yeah. How much time do I have, or am I off the air?
You got about 15 seconds.
Okay, well, I'll just say, think about what I said, okay? And we'll be broadcasting out of the Agora Coffee Shop soon also as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay? All right.
Cool.
Come back, see us.